The first round of the 2002 American Le Mans Series was a 12-hour race at Sebring. The front row was another Audi benefit. The two works cars much quicker than Audi customer teams by a second a lap. When the Dallara brakes failed, Didier Thies was lucky to walk away from a big impact at the final turn. And while the Yellows and the Audis were out on the track, Panos made an inspired pit stop, which gave David Brabham a well-deserved lead that was sadly also short-lived. After running strongly with the leaders, the 675 MG Lola was stuck in pit lane with engine problems, while the second full-course yellow brought another wave of fueling stops. At the restart, there was a small touch between the Audi of Frank Biela and the factory MG Lola, and not long afterwards, Biela was in the pits while a leak from the power steering was fixed, a long job that left the number 2 Audi to lead the race. Though the Nighthawk MG was in trouble, the Intersport car was going brilliantly on its Sebring, ALMS and American debut, especially encouraging since this is a notoriously difficult track for a setup, even when you know it well. The Corvettes have been strong all afternoon, and as the evening drew on, the yellow 3 and 4 showed no signs of weakness, even when afternoon temperatures outside the cockpit were in the mid-40s. There was drama in the final minutes when the remaining Panos ran out of brakes but struggled to a finish, and Jan Lammers spun the champion Audi on the final corner of the final lap. But the story stayed the same and the Audi drivers swept the board. This is how the points look after round 1. The top 6 positions all held by Audi drivers, though it's not the same in the other 3 classes, of course. Plenty of reason to celebrate for all the teams who did well here. Sebring is tough enough to serve as a good marker for the rest of the season to come. The first exciting round of this year's championship over and done with, and it's on to Sears Point next in California, then on to Mid-Ohio, Road America for a 500-mile sprint later in the season, through to Canada for La Trois Rivières and also Motorsport, and then it's back to America, Laguna Seca, Miami, Road Atlanta, and then Sepang in Malaysia. Nestled in the famous wine-growing region, Sears Point is the host for the Grand Prix of Sonoma, round 2 of this year's ALMS. The 2.52-mile circuit, recently remodeled, is considered one of the most challenging circuits in the United States. Perfect conditions in qualifying saw the number 3 Corvette, piloted by Ron Fellows, set the fastest time for the GTS class. The Canadian is partnered by American Johnny O'Connell. They took victory in the class last time out at Sebring and will be very much intent on making it 2 in a row here.
We have a plan, and we're going to stick to it. It's similar to last year that worked out for us. Our fuel mileage is a little bit better, and if we catch a caution and are able to make our pit stop at the right time, we should be good.
Setting the pace in the LMP 675 class was the 37 Lola MG that won their category last time out too. John Field and Rick Sutherland hoping for a repeat performance. A lot of work has been done on the Panos since round 1. The revised package is hoped to move the car closer to the Audis. David Brabham is again alongside Jan Magnussen.
I was struggling a little bit for grip. There's 2 or 3 places you really need to get the front to work, and it just wasn't working very well out there. So I just did the best I could with it.
With Audi preparing for Le Mans, Audi Sport North America entered a 2-year-old car, which Pirot almost managed to take poleward. He'll be joined by Biela and Capello. Tom Christensen, on loan to the champion team for the weekend, took the controls for qualifying, with Johnny Herbert trying to qualify for the Indianapolis 500. A stunning last chance lap took the pole and eclipsed the #1 car.
It's nice to be on pole, but the race tomorrow is going to be a tough one. And also Panos, they know for sure that we have to get another driver in the car, so that will make our pit stop a little bit longer. So if they can stay in contention, what I'm sure they can, I think we will see a very interesting race tomorrow.
Johnny Herbert had planned to fly in for the final stint of the race, but gave up his hopes of qualifying for the Indy 500 and flew in early. Race day, the California sunshine had disappeared and overnight rain set in. It was originally expected it would clear in the morning, but with minutes to go before the race start, it was still quite heavy. Suddenly, the whole race strategy for everyone had changed.
Ideally, we'd like to race in the dry because so many things can go wrong in the wet. But I think we have a good car, good tires. You know, I think we'll be doing well in either condition.
This track is just not built for the same kind of drainage because they don't normally get much rain, so it's going to be very treacherous. There's a lot of standing water. It's going to be an interesting first couple of laps.
It will just be a survival race. There's a new asphalt on, which is great when it's dry, but because it hasn't rained here for half a year, it's so slippery that I have never experienced anything before. I mean, I can see there's even people losing the car on the formation lap.
Not much suntan lotion needed here today, as the organisers declared a wet race, and it would start behind the pace car until conditions were deemed safe enough to commence racing. And they'll be leading off in single file order as well due to the conditions. So on pole, Herbert, Wallace and Christensen in the number 38 Audi. Biela, Capello and Pirot would dearly love to win here. Further back, GTS leaders Fellows and O'Connell start 12th in line, and teammates Pilgrim columns behind them. Plenty of fast men way back in the grid. 2 hours and 45 minutes of racing. A few warm-up laps in inverted commas first of all, though. And you can see the conditions. There is so much standing water here. This is a circuit that's been heavily remodeled, lots of new tarmac, and with very little rain recently, the oil is coming up and out of the asphalt surface. It's very, very slippery indeed. We've already had reports of people going off on these formation laps, and it is going to be a pace car start until everybody is happy that the conditions are safe for the green flag. Well, the driver's trying to get as much heat in those tyres, and problems for the John Field car, electrical problems they've been having. He is carrying a helmet cam, a little camera inside his helmet, and they think the electronics are interfering with the electronics on the car. And well, it looked like he was getting underway, but it's not happening this time. And we're ready for a start. That was Christensen backing everybody up. Puts the sprint on now. Nobody can move until they've crossed the line and get the green flag. And we are finally go here at Sears Point. And a good start there. Lovely start for the number 38 Audi driver. Christensen did that beautifully. And this is the number 1 Audi already under pressure from Brabham in the Panos, and he's going to take him. Takes him already. Opportune moment. And that was an excellent manoeuvre by David Brabham to take second position. Panos would dearly love to win here. On board now with the Audi that's now dropped back a place into second, into third, and up to fourth gear now. Struggling very hard to get the grip. They're all on wet tyres or modified. Have to be so careful. It's like glass out there now. Just feeding the power in, but here's our race leader. A plume of water comes up from those wets that can disperse something like 8 bath loads per second. And the panel's just creeping a little bit slowly towards the race leader and slowly and gingerly round the carousel for Frank Bieler. Slow corner, 40 miles an hour, then they accelerate out along the start-finish straight. Go through that climb once more. Not a great speed circuit, this 62 in problems. A bit of a spin there in the damp conditions, I think, and look at this. Whoa, our attention was taken away. Brabham has nipped through to take the race lead as he goes through the carousel once more, and David Brabham leads this round 2 of the American Le Mans. The panel's crew will be absolutely delighted, and Tom Christensen will not be happy at all. David Brabham leads in the number 50 panels. Tom Christensen close behind in second place. It has now stopped raining here. The track is starting to dry in some areas, but still very difficult indeed. Christensen has got to stay in contact with Brabham. Now, the interesting point as well is that Brabham will hand over to his teammate, Danishman Jan Magnussen. But Christensen's team have got 2 other drivers, Johnny Herbert and Andy Wallace, who also have to drive in that car. That's going to mean an extra stop for them. Strategy is going to play out all through this race. This is the leader of the GTS class, Ron Fellows, who we heard talking before, loves this circuit. Corvette was pretty impressive during practice and qualifying. A bit of a handful here. There's the Celine of the number 26 Conrad team, second in the GTS class so far. Terry Borchella behind the wheel for the opening stint. Behind that, the number 0 Ferrari 550 Maranello, Emmanuel Naspetti in that awesome 5.8 V8 car, bright green. This is their second race this season, and already rumoured to have spent something like $1 million on the car. Twitch there from Borchella as he just found a little bit of damp on the track. Well, it's not hard to do that at all. Over the start-finish straight they go, approaching in the region of 120 miles an hour. Now this climb, so they head up towards turn 2, 60 miles an hour, up to 125 miles an hour, braking down then. And here's 26 once more, still chasing the GTS leader. Another awesome car, this Celine, partnered by the team owner, Mr. Conrad. As we go on board now, this is inside the helmet of number 37, John Field, in the MG LMP, and that's a spin for Capello. He's beats the Audi, but he's got it moving. A little bit of damage to the front there, but he's right in the middle of the track. He's losing position. 62 problems for Ryan Hampton. And is that just a mechanical problem, or has he actually spun it there? We can't really tell. But the safety car is out. 2 cars off on the track at the moment, so everything's going to regroup up. Full course yellow. And we're on board with the number 1 Audi. Heads into the pit lane. Driver change as he starts to release himself from the cockpit. The lights are off though on the safety car, and that's going to mean go. And Christensen needs a good start here. Brabham though will be ready to pounce as soon as he can. Again, he'll back them up and then pull away, just like we saw Christensen at the start of this. Brabham and Magnussen were third here last year. It was Capello and Christensen that won it in the Audi. Sky a lot brighter, track drying all the time. And out of the pits comes Frank Bieler, having taken over from Capello. He's going to rejoin in 27th place.
The problem was that we tried to do something on the tire before we started the race, because there was a lot of standing water. And but starting behind the pace car, doing a lot of lap behind the pace car, the standing water is gone, and then the tire, I think, didn't work at all, and it was very, very difficult to keep the car on the track.
So tyre problems causing problems for Ronaldo Capello, and well, it's probably going to affect all the others as well. Panos were quite comfortable with their tyres, and it is going to make a difference. If the track continues to dry out, they are going to have to change to slicks. These wets not brilliant at all. Once the surface water has gone, you can see a dry line there developing on the start-finish straight, but they get the green flag. And away this time, David Brabham then in the Panos LMP01 leads Tom Christensen in the Audi R8. Third place, Scott Maxwell in the MBD sports car. Panos, there he is, and that's the 51 Panos as well behind him. And in number 11, just recovering from a bit of a spin there, so getting caught out all the time as we go on board with the number 4 car. In fact, that's the Andy Pilgrim Chevrolet Corvette C5R GTS. 2 of those in the race, of course. His teammate Ron Fellows in the number 3 car, already leading the GTS class. And he's now past the green Audi. That's behind him there. A lot of traffic ahead of him. And the external view of number 4, 52 behind him in the Porsche. Hugh Plum in the Cycle 911 GT3R and having a look to see if he can get past the Corvette. Beautifully prepared cars, ducked in there just to pipe a little bit of air through to the driver, but not too critical today with the usual California sunshine disappearing. And here onto that little straight before they hit turn 2 now. Just under 100 miles an hour, uphill to turn 3. Down gears and through to about 60 miles an hour. Then up again to about 125. Down to third gear. And then into second and down for turns 3 and 4, but still around about 100 miles an hour. Then start to go downhill once more. Another quick section. They head down to turn 5. Then a long sweeping left-hand turn again. Really is quite an impressive circuit. So much work has been done here. Just a shame that the weather conditions obviously have affected that for the spectators today. And number 11 having problems. Well, a penalty to be served as well for working on the car in the pit lane with the engine still running. And this is 11th and 12th in the overall race. 23, Lucas Luhr in the 911 Porsche, and Jörg Bergmeister, 22. So these two teammates circulating together. No team orders. But there will be, of course, that unofficial team order. Do not take out your teammate. And that's the Ferrari just ahead of them. Still going well. Closing right on the back of his teammate now, Jörg Bergmeister. Very much a Porsche expert. A nice little move to line himself up for the line into the turn there, but ahead his teammate was already ready for him. And there is not a lot of spare track here. Somebody else spinning. That was number 37, Rick Sutherland. Still getting caught out in these very, very slippery conditions. Very difficult to predict just how the car is going to handle. Well, car perfectly okay that we can see. It's still going a little bit slowly. Same not said at all for race leader number 50, David Brabham. Very confident, very enthusiastic about this car all through practice and qualifying. This would be a great payback for the team for all the work that they put in. A lot of hope that the revisions they've made is going to make the big difference, and it is so far. You really have to be by the trackside to appreciate the thunder, the roar of these machines as they go past you. You can feel them vibrating through your legs as we pick up the number 30 car, Clintfield, in the Banana Joe's Lola Judd. And that in number 18, Didier Rodriguez. And another Panos, this time with a Mugen power plant inside. And these cars just starting to spread out a little bit in the LMP 900 class. It's going very well for David Brabham. No sign of Tom Christensen. Well, there he is, I think, just flashes into view there. Just caught a glimpse of him. So probably that gap in the region of about 2.5 seconds. And definitely a dry line developing, you could see that there. And very soon, question mark over the tyres. Well, they can't pit too early. They have to have done 10 laps before they can pit. The guys will want to stay out as long as possible, and it is going to be about who stays out first. The change of lead in this race could be through the pit stops. Still quite a way off now into the carousel once more. You can see it's a lot drier there on the racing line. Try and keep it off the curbs. That paint very slippery indeed. Mighty roar of the panels as another lap gets knocked down. There was 107 laps run last year. Going to be a lot less this year because they are going a lot slower. Up the hill once more, quite a lot of traffic. Important that Brabham gets through them. Christensen will be trying to do the same as well. Doesn't want to get left behind at all. And the Corvettes, the Porsches, and some of the LMP 675 class moving out of the way. Let the race leader through. There's number 13. And Christensen stuck behind 13 now. The slower of the prototype. Still those huge, great big rear wings. And Christensen through, past the 675, past the Porsche, and still needs to keep his momentum going. Of course, makes it twice as difficult. Somebody gone off there onto the grass. That's at turn 6. It is the Philip Collin Porsche 911 GT3R, competing, of course, in the GT class. But sliding there, you can see the dirt on the tyres that he's picked up from that little excursion. Christensen a lot closer now to the back of David Brabham. And is this the start now of an attack from the champion Audi team? Christensen, of course, normally with the Inferon team, but driving for champion this time. The 3 Audi cars remaining in Europe as they prepare them for the Le Mans in France. And helping out this team this time. The other Audi that we've seen with Biela and Pirot is a 2-year-old car that was actually lent them by the champion team. So a lot of assistance being gleaned from the teams in order to keep the Audi campaign going. And Christensen closer and closer now to the back of Brabham in that Panos. It's taken him a while to get back up, but the track drying out. Maybe now the champion Audi starting to work just a little bit better on those tyres. David Brabham, cool and calm inside that cockpit. He's not one to be outfoxed. Somebody there in the Viper, Shane Lewis in the number 45 Dodge Viper, spinning there between turns 3 and 4, and that is deadly for a lot of the other competitors now. A lot of thick mud. You can see it there, all caked around the car. That's all been dragged onto the circuit. That is going to be a bit of a hazard. Nothing that can be done about it unless it's deemed too dangerous. But continuing on his way. David Brabham still holds the lead from the 38 Audi of Christensen, now closing even more on the race leader. As they lap one of the Corvettes, it's the number 4 Corvette. We're on board with that now, and you can see some impression of the difference in speed as they just disappear away from the Corvette. Andy Pilgrim not able to keep up with them at all, and this is Christensen going for the lead. And just took opportune there. At that moment, Brabham just looked to go a little bit wide, and Christensen was right on it, and straight away streaks away but he's into the traffic. Can Brabham catch him back this time? Oh! Very, very wide indeed. Thought for a moment Christensen was going to lose it, but this was where he took it. Panos twitching there, looking for the grip. Still very wet on that part of the circuit. On board the number 1 Audi, Frank Bieler inside. Not the best days to be in an open top car. And this is him snipping through. I think that was the number 51 car. No, it wasn't. Trying to make up time now. Lost several places after that early race spin. Certainly a man on a mission. Car that was raced in 2000, totally different. Oh, this is pit change time. In the number 50 pit, David Brabham is getting out. Jan Magnussen is getting in. 89 spins it. But not too much in the way there. And in the meantime, Magnussen, new tyres, fueled up, and out he goes. But he'll have to be careful on this opening lap or so. That's Christensen right behind him. Magnussen down a lap, but Christensen still to stop.
You know, my rear end was just getting more and more loose and nearly lost it a few times trying to hold the Audi behind. It was quicker than me through the carousel, so, you know, it didn't take much for it to get past me. And, you know, it didn't get too big a gap before our fuel stopped, so hopefully we're still in good shape.
So David Brabham watching from the sidelines, and eagerly now as well, as into the pits comes Christensen. Magnussen leads. Johnny Herbert over the wall and dives into that race seat. Robert Urquhart with serious damage to the car there. And look at this, number 1 being caught by the new regained race leader, Jan Magnussen, inside there. And Magnussen very good in the wet conditions, though a lot better now. Circuit getting more of its familiar grey colour as against the black, where you can see the damp patches. Pushing that panels on up to operating temperature now. Tyres nice and hot, brakes nice and hot too. And Johnny Herbert out on the track in the 38 car. But still one more stop to go. Oh, and he's got a puncture! Disaster for Johnny Herbert, and it's torn away the bodywork there. He's going to have to re-pit again, and that is bad news for the champion team. Well, Johnny Herbert has abandoned his Indy 500 dream of racing there after qualifying problems, but decided to come here and concentrate on this. Was going to do a dash using a private jet and 2 helicopters, but it didn't quite work out. And now, not soon after he got into the car, oh, look at the state of the number 1 car. That's had a bit of a shunt. It's mainly bodywork, and of course that tyre that looks as if it's going to come off the rear wheel. And we can't see what else is wrong with that car. Maybe the suspension. Herbert's in, though. That is the offending tyre. Did he touch somebody? Did he catch the wall? Not sure. A lot of debris in there. Maybe the tyre sent him off into it. But whatever sent this guy off caused a tremendous amount of damage as he heads to the pits. The guys in the pit will do their best to get him back going again, and definitely bent suspension on there. And it's all good news for number 50, Jan Magnussen. That information will be relayed to him. He will know that his lead is just escalating by the second. 2 of the main rivals are out. Well, not exactly out, but out of view of him anyway. So he can afford to just sit back a little bit. Repairs, unbelievably, have been made. This is the end of almost... Oh, look at that. That's the 45 Viper. The 15 minutes they spent in the pits with that Audi. That Viper is not going anywhere else except the scrapyard. Driver perfectly okay. And, well, that was a big shunt. But we've seen problems with that car earlier on, but Spencer Trenny is all right. Pirro inside the number 1 Audi this time. See what he can do. Just getting everything back up to temperature once more. No doubt we'll be wondering if the car is perfect after that damage. Well, there's the Corvettes. Of course, we're still out on a course caution. The yellow flags are still out. So everybody closing back up again. The lights are off, though, on the pace car. Johnny Herbert inside that car. And there is our race leader, number 50. So it's going to be a jump start once more. There's the leading Corvette, the Celine right behind it, and then the other Corvette, number 4, and then the Audi just tucked behind that with Pirro on board. And here we go for the green flag. And that car looked as if it was actually overtaken before the green flag had dropped, so possible penalty on that. They're not supposed to overtake until they've crossed the line. You could argue the point if there was a point to argue, but we don't know. And 37 goes wide this time. And seems very slow. Was that in an attempt to try and apologise to the stewards? I'd be very surprised if it was, but uphill they go once more. The two Corvettes now behind each other. The Celine behind that. But David Brabham leading this race for the early part till he handed over to his teammate Jan Magnussen, who's now firmly ensconced inside that panels and working his way through the traffic. Johnny Herbert, after that puncture, will be fighting hard to get back. The other panels, 51 panels behind Herbert, but Herbert is up to second place now, but quite a considerable time margin between him and the race leader Magnussen. And that start-finish straight almost bone dry now. Still difficult conditions. Up the hill goes 51, heading up towards turn 2. Normally it'll take that at about 60, 65 miles an hour. Heading up towards that speed, but still with a lot of care. That panel's shaking inside. Incredible machines. Johnny Herbert, P2. Number 51, Brian Herter, P3. And the second of the Panos. And Brian Herter, very good driver indeed. That's the gap you can see between second and third place. Conditions a lot brighter now. Just wondered if Herter was actually starting to catch Johnny Herbert. Well, we don't know if any other damage was done to that champion Audi by that puncture. Certainly a lot of bodywork ripped. A bit of debris there being flicked up. Presume that was already on the circuit. That's the 52 Porsche that goes very slowly into the pit lane. And I think shedding little bits of rubber. Johnny Herbert very much with his race face on. Number 51 still going with him. Brian Herter not giving in at all. And the ideal situation, of course, for the panels would be if Herter can get past and protect that first place, if nothing else. And the Porsches still working hard. And that is number 23, Sasha Massen, another Porsche expert. Leading the GT class here at Sears Point, which normally you would expect to see brilliant sunshine. Saying that, it's still track temperature of around 60 degrees. The sun is just breaking through in places, and that's allowing conditions to dry up. Sasha Massen driving hard, and he'll be happy if he can win the GT class. The damp conditions earlier on, sort of a little bit more of a level playing field. The Porsches were challenging the more powerful GTS cars that just couldn't use their awesome power. So the Porsches have benefited probably more than anybody else from these weather conditions. And certainly Sasha Massen is still driving hard. Familiar sound of the Porsches. These 911 GT3 RSs. And closing all the time on the back of number 30. That's the Lola Judd of Mark Newhouse. And is Massen going to try and take him? Well, there is a bit of a power difference between these two. 43 gets in the fray now in the traffic. Just been passed by Newhouse. And Massen looking for a way past. And Masson won't be happy at all. That 43 car is holding up this battle for track position. Masson just trying everything he can to get past. Close behind. And all the time, Newhouse just getting away in that Lola Judd. And I think Masson's got him this time on the approach into the carousel. Does nicely there. Very, very tight over the curb. You couldn't have done that a while ago. It would have just been spinning you into the wall. But Masson has got through the traffic and now has to work hard to get on the tail of Newhouse once more. Up the hill go towards turn 2. And Sascha Masson, competing last year in the German Porsche Carrera Cup, and synonymous with Porsches through most of his racing career, and has in fact closed on the back of Newhouse once more. Has done well to catch up there. Can he pass him? He's had to do it all over again after the 43 car. Peter Barron got in the way and starting to menace Newhouse. Newhouse will see him. Oh, well, that's how Sascha Masson feels. He seems to think that Newhouse should give way, and certainly looks as if Masson was being held up. And Newhouse moves out of the way, and Masson goes through. Not happy at all. Foot down now, clear air. And this is the Corvette of Johnny O'Connell, number 3, passing number 52. Who's been into the pits and changed over. And there's the number 4 Corvette, Kelly Collins. So these two, first and second in their class. You will notice little lights on the side of the cars that indicate their position. And Kelly Collins now being held up by number 52. Passes him this time. Down nicely into the turn. Just feathering the power in. And he'll be attempting to close up once more on the back of his teammate, Johnny O'Connell, who took over from Ron Fellows. And the sky's still clearing. Little bit of blue sky appearing. A few spots of rain from that big black cloud there have been felt in the pit lane, but so far it hasn't returned to the torrential downpour that we've had all night and all morning. Originally, in the morning warm-up, they thought the track was going to dry off about an hour or two afterwards, but the rain just continued and certainly put a bit of a dampener on the proceedings, but the racing has been pretty good nonetheless. So 3 and 4 teammates in the Chevrolet Corvette team, the C5Rs, going beautifully. 3 leading 4. I think that's number 11 behind there. There's the 52 Porsche, and there's the Celine. Terry Borchella still behind the wheel. Number 51 with his teammate, race leader, right behind him, and he's about to get lapped. Yeah, Magnussen continues on his way. And it's been a pretty easy ride for Magnussen, really, just keeping out of trouble. Johnny Herbert still some way behind him. Passes his teammates. Now goes a lap down. But yeah, Magnussen just been keeping the momentum going, being urged on by the team and by David Brabham, his teammate. They know they can win this. They just keep cool heads, keep consistent. It's still expected that the number 38 Audi will have to stop once more. Johnny Herbert on board. Andy Wallace in the pits waiting to take over. They don't have to stop, but of course it would mean that Andy Wallace misses a drive, misses a chance on points. And there is Johnny Herbert picking his way through, still recovering from that enforced pit stop with a puncture, but certainly slicing his way through the field over the start-finish line. up the hill to turn till. 60 miles an hour around that turn, up to about 120 miles an hour, up towards turn 3. Pace picking up all the time. Then they go downhill out of turn 4, 100 miles an hour into turn 5, down to the bottom, 140 miles an hour, down into 3rd gear, round at about 80 miles an hour, turn 5, up to 4th gear, 150, 155 miles an hour on a good day. Back with number 51. The Panos in 3rd place still, a lap down, but still going well. Brian Herter on a circuit that he knows very well and enjoys it very much as well. Audi victory last year. The Panos, only one of the Panos finished, and that was in 3rd place. Graf and Lagos were awarded a DNF for going out, so this will be payback this year if Panos can take 2 cars to the podium, especially if it can be 1st and 2nd. Looks highly unlikely unless the champion car hits problems, or unless, or when it says really that it has to come in for its 3rd pit stop for the driver change. But in the meantime, 51 just continuing on, chipping away, holding at 3rd place. And the thing about these long distance races, these endurance races, is that anything can happen. As in all motorsports, really. You just have to keep going. You can pick up positions very, very easily indeed. Well, behind him is the champion Audi, and no longer behind him as he passes through to put him a lap down now. The 52 Porsche just got in the way of Herter. Herbert got through nicely, and Herbert really, really is on a charge now. Knows he's got to make time up, and will be really disappointed about the problems earlier on in this race. Stunning drive, start with, by his teammate Christensen, who then of course lost the lead. Only to take it back again. Then it all went wrong after that, just after Johnny Herbert had taken over the car, got that puncture and set them back. But Johnny Herbert certainly no slouch. Enjoying racing in this series, and of course would dearly love to win the championship this year. That's a long, long way off. But a lot of travelling, a lot of thought and stress on him this weekend there has been over the Indianapolis 500 and this American Le Mans race at Sears Point. So much for taking a back seat from Formula One and putting his feet up. He really, really enjoys his racing. And this is fun for him. And as much really as a mental challenge. Well, there's the race leader. Still looking very good. Jan Magnussen just got to keep consistent. We'll be getting messages all the time that Herbert is on the charge. But at the moment, the gap, nothing too serious. Still has to beware. Franz Conrad in the pits. Damage to the front end of that car. Well, suspension and ducting. And all sorts of little bits and bobs floating around there. The pneumatic jacks go up. There's the front of the bodywork of that car. They'll just replace that though. Herbert dispatches the 0 Ferrari 550 Maranello. Still going well, still having a good race in the GTS class. But that's another car out of the way for Johnny Herbert. Up the hill once more for the Team Olive Garden car. Currently in 11th place, Domenico Chiaratelli behind the wheel, having changed over several laps ago. Lovely, lovely sound from that beautiful engine. And a completely different, more raw, more powerful sound emitting from the back of that champion Audi. Johnny Herbert really driving that hard, slides through, just dispatches the Porsche without any problem, and he really is on the move now. He knows that he's going to have to move very quickly indeed if he's going to keep that car in contention, because really at the moment they are fighting for second place. But he is starting to close on Magnussen. Another Porsche in the way, lots of traffic, all slowing him down, all taking his concentration, but the sun out there, you can see it shining on the walls of the carousel part. Over goes the race leader. And the gap really coming down now, and Magnussen has been given the hurry up. The news is that Johnny Herbert is going to remain in that car. Andy Wallace giving up his chance of a drive and points so that they can concentrate on that second place. And that must now have filtered through to the Panos team, who were banking on the fact somewhat that they would have to stop 3 times in the champion team. But now this race is on, and it's on to the end. And yeah, Magnussen will be all the time being given information, be looking in his mirrors, looking for Herbert. But the conditions that are benefiting Herbert are also benefiting Magnussen as well. Been with his team quite some time, knows the Panos very well. Integral with the development work along with Brabham. The 2 drivers work very well indeed. Great team spirit, great camaraderie in the Panos team. Of course, this series set up by Don Panos, allowed by the ALMS, or the Le Mans Association, to run with adapted Le Mans rules. The white flag is out for Jan Magnussen. That indicates he's got 1 more lap to go as he passes Franz Conrad, who's rejoined now with complete bodywork once more. But it's 4 seconds that Johnny Herbert tails this man, Jan Magnussen, who really just has to cruise to the line now. A big, tall order for Magnussen, but there is traffic ahead of him. We'll look to see if we can see Johnny Herbert, see where he is. Not in that shot there, and it looks as if Magnussen is going to get away with this. It's going to be a great win for him and David Brabham. They certainly deserve it. It's not over yet. And there is still traffic ahead of David Brabham. There was Johnny Herbert, a couple of seconds behind him. There we see him again, and Herbert is closing. It is going to be very tight indeed for the end of this race. Race leader, yeah, Magnussen keeping a cool head, and he's got to pick his way through the traffic, and he's been held up now. Herbert is on his way. There's 1 car between him and the race leader. They're into the carousel this time. That's not the race leader we're looking for. There he is, out of the final turn towards the checkered flag. There's a Porsche in his way. Herbert closing behind him, but it's going to be all right for Magnussen. He crosses the line, and over he goes, but Herbert has clipped another car as they cross the line. Well, we missed out on that. You just caught a glimpse of it. There's the car he clipped, and that is Herbert's rear wing, but he's perfectly okay. A close race on the final laps, but a well-deserved win for David Brabham and Jan Magnussen. Johnny Herbert perfectly okay after that finish line collision, keeping second place. The 51 Panos in third. O'Connell and Fellows win the GTS class, Lure and Mass in the GTs, and McKentry and Devlin the LMP 600s.
We went too much towards the wet setup. Car was a big handful in the drive, but we won. So.
Yeah, Magnussen happy, but it's Johnny Herbert that tops the points table now by 7 points from Tom Christensen, and that seems to vindicate Herbert's decision to concentrate on the championship drive here. Ronaldo Capello third, and he's just 1 point behind Tom Christensen. Fellows and O'Connell, the 2 Corvette drivers, leading the GTS class. Sasha Masson leads the GT class. The last week in June will be the next rendezvous for the ALMS series, and that will be at the exciting Mid-Ohio circuit.
Here we go.